morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, I know we're still waking up, but we can do better than that. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
There we go. I'm going to invite you to join us in singing a few things, and we're going to start off with hymn number 95. Hymn number 95 in the gray hymnal. There is more love somewhere. And kids, if you know this, you can sing along with us. Those of you in the back, feel free to come and join us. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. And this next verse, there is hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace. More peace somewhere. And I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna keep till I find it. Till I find it. Don't you believe? There is more peace somewhere. And we all could use some more joy. There is more joy somewhere. We have replacing I with you, and then the third time we replace I with we. So let's go ahead and sing, filled with loving kindness. May I be filled. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. us and sing number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. I know you all know this one, so I expect a lot of singing, right? Oh, we know this, come on. When our heart is in a holy place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place,
When we
trust the wisdom in each of us, and we come free and kind, and we see your faces in each other's eyes. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place,
When we tell our
we
story,
tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy
when we
place,
share the silence,
when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs
and we
within,
feel the
and we
power,
feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace.
let's sing that one more time. When our heart is in a holy place.
Our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy
It's okay to clap in church.
we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Amen. We're going to do things a little different. I'm going to invite you to keep standing and let's greet our neighbors. Say hi. Go to the person in the back that you haven't seen in a For those that are online, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Abhi Janamanchi. My pronouns are he and him.
And I'm Kimberly Clarkson, the worship associate for today's service. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your beliefs, gender identity, documentation status, or disability, and wherever you are joining us from, in person, at home, you are welcome to bring your whole selves here.
A special welcome to those of you who are new to Cedar Lane this morning. If you're joining us for the first time today or still feel new and feel comfortable doing so, would you please raise your hand if you're here in person or add your name in the chat. Welcome. Let's
Welcome.
give our friends a warm Cedar Lane welcome. You're invited to complete a newcomer form that is being linked in the chat. And also, after the service, we hope you will join Reverend Ali, who will be in the library to learn more about Unitarian Universalism and Cedar Lane.
Our weekly e-newsletter is a great way to stay updated about all the happenings at Cedar Lane. You can sign up through the link on our website homepage, www.cedarlane.org.
Our pastoral visitors are an extension of our ministry team. Helen Pekacek is our pastoral. Kathleen Holmay is our pastoral visitor today. Thank you, Kathleen, for your ministry. She's available here in the service in person, and also we have pastoral visitors who are available online. As we center ourselves, preparing for our time together, we acknowledge that Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church is situated on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank people, part of the Piscataway group of tribes, on the land on which enslaved African people and their descendants labored and lived without choice or reward. We honor with gratitude the land and the people who have protected it for generations.
We gather in gratitude for all who have gone before, whose love and labor helped create and sustain the mission and ministry of this religious community. In this spirit we gather, in this spirit we begin.
Today's service celebrates Bodhi Day, a defining event. Can you all hear me? Is my mic on? Let's see. You got me?
I got you.
It's good to have a good friend.
Now
Hey! This sounds better. Hello out there. Okay. Today's service celebrates Bodhi Day, a defining event in the life of the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, when he experienced enlightenment. It is observed at this time of year by traditional Zen and Pure Land Buddhist schools of China, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Bodhi Day serves as a reminder amid all of the hustle and bustle of this season to pause, to center down, and reconnect with the inner wisdom that is available to all of us and recognize our relation to the whole.
So let us pause for a moment, center down, and invite our mind, body, and spirit into this space and receive these ancient Pali and Japanese chants to bring us more fully in this space. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami.
I pay homage to the Blessed One, the Perfected One, the fully enlightened One. We take refuge in the Buddha. We take refuge in the Dharma. We take refuge in the Sangha. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. 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 I devote myself to the Dhamma of the Lotus Sutra.
Each Sunday, we kindle the chalice, symbol of our faith and of our gathered community. As the Gas-an family kindles the chalice, please share in the chat where you are lighting your chalice from. Please rise in body and or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words. In the holy quiet of this hour, may we let go of our anxieties, our fears, our anger, our self-doubts, our regrets, our petty grievances, and our distractions. Let the flame of our chalice burn them from our hearts and minds and light our way to awakening, awe, and attention.
Thank you, Children's Choir, for that lovely piece. You did great. Thank you, Jenny and Susan. What a beautiful piece of music. So this morning, I wanted to share a story about Siddhartha Gautama, who is more popularly known as the Buddha. And the Buddha means the awakened one, the enlightened one. And as you heard from Reverend Ali earlier, we are celebrating Bodhi Day today, which marks the enlightenment of Siddhartha Gautama to become the Buddha. Now, the Buddha was known to be a very kind, compassionate, and wise teacher. And he was that way all his life, even when he was young, like you. And this is a story from his childhood, when he actually demonstrated deep kindness and compassion toward other living beings. So, Siddhartha was a prince, and he grew up in this beautiful palace which had a huge garden. And he loved going out every day and spending time in the garden, enjoying the beautiful flowers and the birds and the bees. And one day he was there enjoying the beautiful nature and happened to see a flock of swans flying in the sky. And he was just looking at them, and they were making those noises, which I'm sure you know how to make the swan noises, right? Do you know how? Yeah, no, though I'm sounding more like a puppy. You got it. Yep. So, and he was just watching them fly gracefully, in formation. And suddenly he heard this loud shriek. Oh, yes. And he saw the swan fall down, just come plummeting down and hit the ground. And he was really worried, so he rushed over to where the swan fell. And what did he see? He saw that the swan was hurt and bleeding.
What is a swan?
A swan is a bird. It's a beautiful bird. And I'm sure you'll find a picture online, which your moms will show you. You just picture it for now. It just goes like this.
It's white.
And it's white.
Sometimes it's black.
Sometimes it's black. Yes. Anyway, I get distracted easily. Where was I? So Siddhartha rushed to the swan, and then he saw that the swan was, one of the wings had an arrow in it, and it was bleeding. So Siddhartha rushed over, gently pulled out the arrow, and started tending to the wound. He found some plants that had some medicinal qualities that he crushed them into a paste and put it on the wound, and then tore off a piece of cloth from his upper garment, and then he bound the wound. And he was just letting the swan rest in his lap when he suddenly heard the shout from behind him going, "Hey, Siddhartha! Hey, Sid! That's my swan. I shot the bird, so it belongs to me." So Siddhartha turned and looked, and who did he see? His cousin, Devadatta, showed up with his bow and a quiver of arrows, looking really angry. Yeah. And he went, "That's my bird. I shot the bird, so I get to keep the bird. That's the law of the land. Don't you know the laws of the land, Siddhartha? You're a prince, for God's sake." And so Siddhartha said, "Of course I know the laws of the land, but this bird does not belong to you."
Is it nice?
Yeah, he said it very nicely. And he said, because the bird is still alive, it has a right to its life. And I am taking care of it, and when it is healed, I will let the swan go free because it belongs in the sky. Well, Devadatta didn't like that answer one bit, so he started arguing with Siddhartha. And they argued back and forth, back and forth. No, they didn't fight, they were just arguing peacefully. They were practicing loving kindness in dialogue with each other, nonviolent communication. Anyway, and then they finally decided they needed to go to court to get this matter resolved. So both of them, with Siddhartha holding the swan and Devadatta by his side and their friends, all went to the court. And there was the king, Siddhartha's father, and many wise ministers like Reverend Ali. They were all seated there, they were discussing some things, and these kids walked up and they said, "We have an issue we need you to resolve." And so everybody turned to them and said, "What's the problem?" So they explained what had happened. And Devadatta said, "The bird belongs to me according to the laws of the land because I shot the bird." And Siddhartha said, "The bird belongs to no one. It is free because it is still alive, and I am tending to its wound. And therefore, it cannot be given to Devadatta." And so the ministers discussed it, and then one wise minister, Reverend Ali, stood up, and then he said, "Siddhartha is right. It is better to save a life than to take one. And the bird has every right to its life and to its freedom, and therefore it needs to be set free." Now, Devadatta did not like the answer, but he understood what it was, and he agreed. And so Siddhartha took the bird, then took care of it for a few weeks, and then one day he and Devadatta went into the garden and set the bird free. And it flapped its wings and flew up, and out of nowhere, two other swans appeared, the bird's friends, and they all flew away. The end. Thank you. You were good listeners and good participants. I'll do it another time. So we're now going to sing hymn number 413 in the Singing the Living tradition, the Gray Hymnal, which is the version we are going to sing. And the words are somewhat different from the more familiar words that have been sung at Cedar Lane for many years. These are the words composed by Dr. Natalie Sleeth. And so as our children and youth leave for their programs, we now rise and sing "Go Now in Peace."
We're actually going to do this first together, and then we're going to start it in a round. So just follow me for your cue. All together. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. This side here.
Go now in peace, go now in
Over
peace.
here.
Go now in peace, go now
This
in
section.
peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the peace go together you may go.
There are a number of things to lift up this morning. Reverend Ali.
There are a lot of things.
Following the service today, our Board of Trustees will be hosting an informational meeting in the sanctuary to provide some important updates about the construction project that is due to begin early next year.
Yes.
Yes, it is a joy for some and it's a hassle for others. This renovation will include the sanctuary space, the lounge, the downstairs areas, the loft with a new elevator and accessible bathrooms and all kinds of good stuff. But it's going to be messy. Anyway, you'll get all the glorious and gory details if you come to the informational meeting. And we also have some nibbles. Our youth are going to be selling some donuts and bagels, and there are other goodies for people to get some and then come over for this meeting.
That is awesome. You got to come support the youth and figure out what's going on with the building.
That's right.
And if you don't come, you won't know.
And later this week, on Wednesday, our Potomac partner, UU Fairfax, in collaboration with the Brady campaign, is holding a vigil outside the NRA headquarters to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And this will be on Wednesday, December 14th at 10 a.m. We hope you will be able to join us there. Mm-hmm. And the holidays are here at Cedar Lane. Yes. Oh, come on. It's joyous. So today, after the postlude, our children in, I think, the 3rd or 4th grade class
Yeah, I think so.
will be processing into the sanctuary, the Santa Lucia celebration. Yes. And it's such a beautiful sight every year to have our children come through in this procession. And they will also have some goodies,
Yes.
which they will share in the lounge afterwards. So please stay after the postlude just for a few minutes to appreciate and enjoy the Santa Lucia procession. And the Alliance Holiday Jewelry Sale is going to be happening in the lounge after the service. These are perfect stocking stuffers or Hanukkah gifts or gifts for teachers and loved ones in the holiday season. Check it out. And later today, we're not done today. Yep. The DC Labor Chorus
Wow.
is singing for peace, singing for justice, singing for labor, and singing in the holidays right here in the sanctuary at 4 o'clock.
Oh my goodness, they are so good. You got to come back for that.
They
You
are
gotta
awesome.
come back.
And if you haven't heard the DC Labor Chorus, they are incredible. And they'll be sharing jazz and blues and spirituals and lots of wonderful labor songs as well.
Just live into your Unicostal selves today. We're just going to be at church all day and just eat something, come back. We'll be here for this. We'll be here for this. We'll be here for this. You missed the best part. They're singing for
Free.
hello, free.
It's a free concert, folks, so join us.
Yes, yes.
And next Sunday, please join us to celebrate Yule, the pagan celebration of the winter solstice, at 9:30 a.m. outside by the bench circle on our campus.
So beautiful.
And then we continue the online spiritual practice for Advent, so check the e-news to find out more about submitting some photos as we go through the season of Advent. And we hope you will join us on Christmas Eve for our Christmas pageant service at 4 p.m. with the children's choir and the Steve Jones trio, jazz trio that will be returning. And then at 8 p.m. for our reflective service with the adult choir sharing selections from the Messiah. And then on Christmas morning,
Yes.
Reverend Ali and I will be sharing a more contemplative Christmas service during our normal service time at 10:30.
We'll just be servicing it up.
Yep. And last but not least, If you want to learn more about our faith and about Cedar Lane, please join Reverend Ali in the library after the service.
Yes.
And now we move into the space of naming and sharing our joys and sorrows of this community and beyond.
Yes. Wow. Cedar Lane is busy. We are a busy congregation full of people who are doing so many things. And that means that we have lots of things that we are also holding. So let's take a moment and just center ourselves and enter into this moment, calling on all our sources of love, using the language that works best for you to get into a moment where we are within and among and around us, feeling held. We lift up this time and those in our community who are living through significant passages. We lift them up in their small and extraordinary milestones in life, and we pause to be present to our spiritual companions and to the concerns of our own hearts. Within our Cedar Lane community, we celebrate with David Stewart and Nancy Florine, who rejoice at the birth of their granddaughter, Kiki Aurora Odessa, to Matt and Katia Stewart on December 1st. A new baby is always a blessing. And then, congratulations to Cedar Lane member and Children's Choir Director Jenny Crane, who received a special commendation this week for outstanding service in the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice in recognition of her important work. We are so proud of you. We're so proud of you. We continue to hold in our hearts longtime member Kay Scott, who is recovering at home, and Minister Emeritus Ken McLean, who's at the Wilson Healthcare Center at Asbury. And we mourn the passing of long-term member Karen Lerner on December 10th in Salt Lake City, Utah, after a brief illness. We hold in our hearts her husband Harvey and their family in this time. We send prayers to Michelle Suttleson and family at the death of her brother Christopher John Fearnley on December 6th in Philadelphia. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost and whose lives are impacted by war and violence and calamities in our nation and in our world. And we hold in our hearts all of those who haven't spoken, who are struggling. We hold in our hearts those who are struggling with addiction and families in addiction, those who are struggling in poverty, those who are just struggling to make it day by day. We hold everyone in this community, in this room, everyone online, in our hearts. We know that this season is a season in which we are expected to be full of joy. And sometimes joy is not where we are. We seek peace. We seek understanding. We seek a moment to be truly who we are in this time, in a space where people will just allow us to be. As we enter the silence together, you're invited to rise in body and in spirit and speak the names of the loved ones that you're holding in remembrance or in care. These names are spoken in prayers held in the heart of each of us. And if you are online, share your loved ones' names in the chat. And when a name is shared in the chat, You may experience the names as they cascade down the page like water. Let it wash over you, filling you with the love of the community that holds you and your loved one. Let us hear the silence now.
Don Cleary.
Richard Nugent.
I invite you now to find a very comfortable position. Close your eyes if you need to. And just take 2 deep breaths in and out, in and out. And as you feel comfortable, join us on a drone.
I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. Please join us or continue the hum. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal me. I release control and surrender to the flow of love that will heal
There are events in our lives that even years after they occur, we know exactly where we were when we heard the news. Amongst many, a few of mine are the Challenger shuttle disaster, September 11th, and the Sandy Hook massacre. Being a teacher and having a child the same age as most of the children lost in the horrific shooting made this tragedy hit particularly hard. In the decade between January 2000 and December 2009, there were 68 school shooting incidents, resulting in 108 deaths. The shooting at Virginia Tech accounted for just under a third of them. Between January 2010 and December 2019, there were 232 school shootings, resulting in 194 deaths. The shootings at Sandy Hook and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School accounted for just under a quarter of them. Since January 2020, there have been 100 school shooting incidents, resulting in 69 deaths. If we continue at this rate, by December 2029, there will have been close to 500 school shooting incidents, and who knows how many more deaths. In the course of 30 years, we have gone from just over 50 in a decade to 50 per year. While the reality of school shootings is in my awareness on a daily basis due to my professional calling, each subsequent year, right around this time, a part of me transitions to a more mournful headspace. I mourn for the educators and children lost, injured, and traumatized that day. I mourn for the first responders who had to witness the devastation of the scene. I mourn for the families who, after the tragedy, were dragged through ridiculous conspiracy theories as they grieved something no one should ever have to. I mourn for the trauma and death of subsequent school shootings. I mourn for our country, that we did not allow this shattering of the safety to push us to make legislative change. I mourn for educators who have to consider how they might have to put their lives on the line in the future. And I mourn for our youth, growing up in a school atmosphere of fear and anxiety around lockdowns exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. I mourn for the feelings that I have lost. As we approach the 10-year anniversary of the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School, join me in holding each of these groups in your heart. Reflect on ways you can work towards the systemic change necessary to avoid school shootings becoming even more commonplace than they already are. Honor those we have lost and those who love them.
This subject is pretty difficult for me as someone who spent a year in Atlanta, Georgia, in a public hospital. School shootings, of course, are awful. Gun violence is devastating. Kimberly's child and my child are of similar age. I remember, I don't know if many of you know my son Everett, but it's kind of small for his age. I remember when he was in first grade, he came home really excited. So excited to tell me what he discovered today in first grade. He was 6 years old, and he told me that they had a lockdown drill. And I said, oh, okay. What does that mean? He said, that means that because I'm so little, I can fit in the cabinet. And I said, is that good? And he said, yeah, because there are not a lot of places to hide in our classroom. But that means that I probably can live. I remember at 6 years old, we had tornado drills. This is an occurrence for our children now. They celebrate when they can figure out a way to live in school. Today, we share the plate with Sandy Hook Promise. It's a national nonprofit organization founded and led by several family members whose children did not live. They sent them to school on December 14th, 2012, and they did not come home. Sandy Hook Promise envisions a future where all children are free from shootings and acts of violence in their schools, homes, and communities. Part of my job as a chaplain was to be on duty for the Children's Hospital. One of the first children that I got the honor of baptizing, because I was a UU and we baptized dead children, was a child who was shot playing outside. One of the second children that I got the honor of baptizing was a child who was shot playing with a gun in their home. One of the third children that I got the honor of baptizing was a child who was shot playing with other children outside. This is a problem. None of these children were older than 10 years old. 2 of them were younger than 5 years old. Sandy Hook's Promise mission is to end school shootings and create a culture change that prevents violence and other harmful acts that hurt children. Let us watch this video to learn more about their amazing work.
After the shooting, Mark and I, along with several other family members, launched Sandy Hook Promise to honor our loved ones' lives and ensure this never happens to any other family.
Sandy Hook Promise is focused on just one goal: prevent violence and protect our kids. We've achieved this through our Know the Signs programs, the passage of sensible school safety and gun violence prevention legislation, and with you, our incredibly committed base of millions of supporters who fight tirelessly every day to keep that promise.
Here are some of the amazing accomplishments from the past 10 years that we and you have achieved. Thank you for continuing to support our efforts to protect children from gun violence. We truly could not do this without you.
We know that a future where children are free from shootings and acts of violence is within reach. From the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate your belief in our work and your commitment to keeping kids safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we share the plate with Sandy Hook Promise. You may text to donate CLUCC and the dollar amount to 73256 or donate online at https://bit.ly/Cedar Lane Give and choose collection plate. You can give using PayPal or go to the Cedar Lane PayPal or scan the QR code that appears on the screen. You can mail a check to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church at 9601 Cedar Lane, Bethesda, Maryland. And thank you for your generosity. Today's offering will be gratefully received.
Amen. stood at thy cottage door. I was singing all alone in a corner, and the melody caught your ear. You came down and stood at my cottage door. Masters are many in our hall, and songs are sung there at all hours. But the simple carol of this novice, stop at your love.
One plaintive little strain.
One plaintive little strain, mingled with the great music of the world, and with love for all Christ.
Beautiful. Thank you, members of the choir, Jasmine and Adam. Those beautiful poems from Rabindranath Tagore. So today we celebrate Bodhi Day, which commemorates the enlightenment of Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha. Historically speaking, Siddhartha awakened to enlightenment at the age of 35 and became the Buddha. Now, we tend to think of enlightenment as some kind of immediate and instant transformation, like a spiritual epiphany. That one moment Siddhartha was sitting under the Bodhi tree, a regular Sid from India, and the next moment he was somehow transformed into the Buddha, the enlightened one, the awakened one. The reality is it didn't happen like that. Enlightenment was the culmination of a long process. The Buddha spent years in training and developing his mind and cultivating his heart with patience, discipline, and compassion that eventually led to the moment of awakening. So what did the Buddha awaken to? And what was the content of his awakening? In essence, the Buddha awakened to his own ignorance. He saw his ego, symbolized by Mara, the ego self, for what it really was, an illusion. And at the same time, the Buddha awakened to the reality of all life. And after awakening, the Buddha gathered his 5 former disciples and a few others to preach his first sermon about the 4 noble truths and the path of the middle way, the Eightfold Path. And the Buddha also cultivated and taught his disciples the 4 divine abidings, or the 4 immeasurables, or the sublime ways of being, the Brahma Viharas. And the 4 divine abodes are Maitri, or Metta, or loving kindness, Karuna, or compassion, Mudita, or sympathetic or affirmative joy, and Upekha, equanimity, or the joy of peace. Now, the Brahma Viharas are encapsulated in a traditional Tibetan Buddhist prayer which goes, "May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May all beings never be disassociated from sympathetic joy, which is without suffering. And may all beings remain in boundless equanimity, free from both attachment to close ones and rejection of others." So cultivating the qualities of the Brahma Viharas develop fullness of the heart. And by cultivating and abiding in them, one leans towards that which would bring happiness to others and to oneself. And of these 4 states, Maitri, or Metta, is the most fundamental, which is what I want to focus on for a bit today. It is the wish for true happiness, a wish we can direct to ourselves and to others. Now, Maitri in Sanskrit, or Metta in Pali, is often translated into English as loving kindness. And although 2 words are used, they still don't get it right. So other words like boundless goodwill or friendliness are used to convey its meaning. Metta is characterized as being connected to happiness as one's welfare. And its function is to generate welfare or well-being for others and oneself. And it is manifested as a removal of annoyance. That's what it is, a removal of annoyance. And you know that, it's like that drone in the back of your head sometimes that you just kind of go through life carrying. Well, Metta is intended to remove that. And its proximate cause is seeing the lovableness of all beings, or the good qualities and that which is pleasing in others. So Metta is a selfless wishing of happiness and well-being for others, unconditionally. And Metta succeeds when it causes ill will to subside. And it fails when it brings about selfish affection. I'll explain that. The Brahma Viharas have so-called near and far enemies, which are considered to be obstructions to their correct development. And the near enemy of Metta is greed or attachment, since happiness and well-being could become coveted. And that, the Buddha says, leads to pain and sorrow. And when we experience something pleasing, we tend to crave it, we want it. But to really practice metta is to wish for the well-being of others and not try to possess them, not control them. And the same goes for cultivating metta towards oneself. To try not to cling, to get attached to feelings of joy and well-being generated by the practice of meditation. We don't meditate because we want to feel good. We meditate, period. So the near enemy of metta is when the heart moves too close to something and then it shifts from being loving kindness to greed and grasping and attachment. And the far enemy of metta is anger and fear. So bearing anger, ill will, fear, or aversion is of course inimical to loving kindness, but it is far enough away for us to recognize such feelings. Which is why in Shambhala teaching, metta is called placing our fearful mind in the cradle of loving kindness. But practicing metta toward ourselves is not about getting rid of anything. So it's not about self-improvement, though that might happen along the way. It's not about practicing, that kind of self-aggression that we sometimes take on to get rid of something that we don't like about ourselves. Like for example, if I work out every day, I'll be a better person. Me. If only my spouse would be better, our relationship would be perfect. Right? Just a couple of things. In her book, Awakening Loving Kindness, Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron writes, metta means that we can still be crazy after all these years. We can still be angry after all these years. We can still be timid or jealous or full of feelings of unworthiness. The point is not try to change ourselves. Metta, she writes, is about befriending who we are already. And the ground of practice is you or me or whatever we are right now, just as we are. That's the ground, and that's what we study, and that's what we come to know with tremendous curiosity and interest. Similarly, metta and other brahmaviharas are cultivated not to get rid of our ego, but to investigate and get inquisitive about ourselves with curiosity and compassion. The ground, the sacred text, is ourselves, and the practice is to get to know ourselves now, in this moment and later. Chodron writes, inquisitiveness or curiosity involves being gentle, precise, and open, being able to let go and open. Gentleness is a sense of good-heartedness toward ourselves. Precision is being able to see very clearly, not being afraid to see what's really there. Openness is being able to let go and to open. So in cultivating metta, we train ourselves first to be honest, loving, and compassionate toward ourselves. Rather than nurturing self-judgment, we begin to cultivate a clear-seeing kindness. So no matter how we feel, we can aspire to be happy. We can learn to think and act in ways that prepare the ground for our future well-being, becoming more aware of what causes happiness and what causes suffering. And the practice of metta involves 7 stages. We begin by engendering loving kindness toward ourselves, and then we expand it to our loved ones, our family, then our friends, then toward neutral persons, and then those who irritate us, and then all of the above as a group, and finally all beings throughout time and space. And each stage of our practice is an opportunity to loosen the tightness of our hearts. And it's fine to sometimes take just one stage and work at it. Some people take the first stage and work on it for days or weeks before they move to the next stage. And we can also simplify the stages like the hymn we will be singing soon. But the main point, friends, is to uncover our innate ability to love unconditionally without bias or judgment, and learn to befriend ourselves, our fears, our inadequacies, our resentments and righteous indignation, our grasping and our aversion. So, this is what I leave you with, and invite you to ponder that as you go through this time and this season. And now, I'd like to welcome our children who are here, the Santa Lucia procession. May it begin with some music. Thank you. Thank you so much. And these delectable goodies will be available for us to all to partake in the lounge after the service. Thank you all. I invite us to now rise in body and or in spirit to sing Filled with Loving Kindness, which is number 1031 in the blue or the teal hymnal. The words are also on screen.
1031. May I be filled.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease.
May all distress be averted. May every disease be destroyed. May there be no dangers for you. May you be happy and live long. May all living beings be happy. May all be free from animosity. May all be free from oppression. May all be free from trouble. May all living beings look after one another with ease. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dhamma. I take refuge in the Sangha.
Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinassatu mate bhavatvantarayo sukhi dighayuko bhava sabbe satta sukita hontu sabbe satta avera hontu sabbe satta abhyapajja hontu sabbe satta anigha hontu sabbe satta sugi attanam pariharantu buddham sharanam gacchami dhammam sharanam gacchami sangham sharanam gacchami. Once more. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami. May it be so.